Welcome back. We will be reviewing the 2020 49ers draft class. This one's a very up and down one. A couple notes. It's up and down because of one first round player that we drafted and the five picks that we had. We had traded our second round pick for D Ford, and then we had traded our third round pick for Emmanuel Sanders, who were both, you know, was only on the team for 8 games, and the other one ended up being a really injury risk. I'll say I do not grade until they're in the league for 3 years. So this will be their second year, or just finishing their second year. But we have a lot of ascending players on this list, or at least two. And I guess we'll get right to it with here is the players. I guess we'll start with Javon Kinlaw. I guess this one has a lot of I don't want to say hate, but dislike. Not only because of his injury, but the way that we got this pick. We traded DeForest Buckner, who was one of the better players on the 49ers. We moved him to the Colts for I believe it was the 13th pick, and then we traded back with the Bucks. And yeah, and the Bucks drafted a tackle at 13. Then we drafted Kinlaw at 14. The problem with Kinlaw is that his knee issue seems like he has arthritis in his knee, and that's something that's a lifetime issue. I'm not sure if that'll be fixed, but we missed him, I believe, the last few games of his rookie season, and then he only played a handful of games in the 2021 season. Actually, we had some run struggles early on when he was playing. He went out. They moved Arik Armstead to inside 3 tech, and then of course him and DJ Jones just clogged up the middle the entire year, and we end up having one of the better run stopping defenses after they made some changes. I really have an issue with the Kinlaw pick. I never really liked it, unfortunately. It wasn't really great of a defensive tackle class as well. I probably would have took CD Lamb at that pick, but whatever. We took, we'll talk about Brennan Yook in the next pick, but we unfortunately, it's not looking good. And next year, his third year is going to be the big year, right? Is he going to produce? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? Because after his third year, the 49ers have to decide, do we want to pick up his fifth-year option? And those fifth-year options, their salary increases a ton, and it's fully guaranteed now. Once we pick it up, he's basically stuck on the team for that fifth year. Right now, I would say that they're not going to pick it up. It really makes no sense. We could also deny it, his fifth-year option, go into his fourth year and re-sign him if he's healthy, if he's gone past that issue after his ACL surgery. Yeah, that's one thing I missed, is that this past season they basically did reconstruction of that ACL to see if that will help with his issue. We'll see if that helps. Supposedly it was successful. So it's a wait and see approach with him. If I graded it right now, yeah, it would be an F because of health purposes. His rookie season, we saw him that he was ascending, and then that issue happened, where he was constantly having those knee issues, those knee soreness. That's a big concern, specifically because we gave up a lot. I mean, we traded DeForest Buckner, and then we drafted Kinlaw. So, and the problem is that we traded away our defensive tackle, and we drafted a defensive tackle with that pick, and he wears number 99. So it's kind of, I can see why the 49er fans are not, loving that pick. And then we move on to Brennan Yook. Brennan Yook, his rookie season, I mean, for all the issues we had at quarterback that season, the injuries, benchings, and stuff like that, he produced. I mean, he was basically our only weapon on offense that season because Deebo Samuel got hurt, George Kittle was hurt, and then come into the 2020-2021 season, he did get hurt in training camp, but yeah, he seemed to be in the doghouse. I guess he wasn't working where the team, will like him to be. I definitely think it ended up working out in the long run. In the short term, it didn't look great because, the team was losing and they weren't getting him the ball. And we all knew how talented Brennan Yook, from his rookie season. So, ended up working out because in the long run, they're trying to produce a superstar out of him, and luckily, I think he ended up with like 700-800 yards from week 4 or 5 to the end of the season. He always seems to be open down the field, something that it's not necessarily incorporated in our offense due to Jimmy Garoppolo. That's not his game. He's not gonna use his arm to get down the field, get past the 30. That's something that will happen with Trey Lance, and I think going into the 2022 season with Brennan Yook, he's gonna ascend. He's gonna ascend big, and I would assume he's gonna be the one that ends up having bigger stats out of everybody, and that's saying a lot. I mean, I'm talking about Debo and George Kittle because he fits perfectly with Trey Lance. It's gonna be a really fun thing to see. So I'm really excited to see what Brennan Yook does. And of course, we're going to pick up his 5th-year option. He is ultra talented, and going into from that draft, that 2020 draft, there was a lot of receivers. I mean, that was one of the deepest receiver drafts in a long, long time. And of course, I would have loved CeeDee Lamb where we picked Javon Kinlaw, but hey, Brennan, you worked out. I'm glad it did. And I'm excited to see where he takes off and where his career goes. Next is Colton Mckivitz in the 5th round. This one, I mean, it's the 5th round, right? Anything beyond 4th round, it's really like it's hit or miss. Colton Mckivitz, now, he was really highly touted from what the 49ers, front office stated, that he was one of their guys that if they didn't trade for Trent Williams, that Colton Mckivitz would have been the backup plan to start at the tackle spot, and that's a little concerning, to be honest with you. If we think about it, that's a big problem, because if we didn't get Trent Williams, Colton Mckivitz has not been good. He struggled, and then he was waived in to start the 2022 season after training camp. He didn't make the team. He signed him to the practice squad, and he actually developed on the practice squad enough that on week 18 he started for Trent Williams, and he did enough to allow us to win. So I think that's great for a player going into his 3rd year. I think it only helps that, okay, maybe our depth at that tackle spot or even guard spot might be a little better than what we thought. I think that's fine. Mckivitz, at the end of the day, maybe he ends up being our swing tackle if we have to rely on him to start in place for one of these guys. Or who knows, maybe next year when this coming season when if McGlinchey struggles early on, or if he's not ready to play week 1 because of his injury coming off a meniscus tear, who typically, it takes 10 to 12 months to recover from. Mckivitz might be able to spot start, and that's not saying anything about Jalen Moore, who's another guy who I really like, but at the end of the day, he's a depth piece at the offensive line, and that's exactly what the 49ers need. They need 7 decent, good offensive linemen, because in this league, this long 18-game season, it's very important to have depth at that position, because injuries happen, and it's going to happen. We saw it this season. We saw it in the 2019 season. You have to be 7 deep. All right, and then moving on to Charlie Warner, and I really love Charlie Warner because in college he was destroying people. He line up the fullback spot, the tight end spot, and he at Georgia he would just maul guys. You couldn't, he would maul motherfuckers. But yeah, I think he actually has turned into a really good tight end on the blocking end. In this season he has had some issues with missing assignments, but most of the time he has been really well all around blocker, that he actually ascended up over Dwelly into the number 2 tight end spot. And if Warner can just continue to ascend on that blocking tight end and add some sort of passing element to the 49ers, I think that would be great. He's a good, decent number 2. I mean, what can you ask for? maybe a little more on the passing end, but I think it's fine if he can continue. If he can allow George Kittle to maybe not block and be used more in the passing game, if Warner is that blocking tight end specialist, I think that would be great. And then my favorite player in the whole draft, Javon Jennings. Man, coming into this, I was actually kind of sad to see him last season because his rookie year, he didn't make the team. He got cut. They put him on the practice squad. And that actually helped him. He developed, and going into the season, we heard a lot of hype about him in training camp, and he didn't start as the third slot receiver, or I should say the slot receiver, the number 3 receiver. It was Mohamed Sanu, but because the work that he does in practice, that when Mohamed Sanu, Javon Jennings took his opportunity and ascended. I mean, he did not allow anyone to take that job from him. When Mohamed Sanu came back, I think it was week 18 or the first week of the playoffs versus the Cowboys, one of those 2 weeks. Javon Jennings kept the job. I mean, I think we look back at the 49ers history the past 20 years. I mean, they did not do good at developing receivers, picking receivers, and it's wild because now, we've had some hits with Dante Pettis, but Brandon Aiyuk, Debo, Kendrick Bourne, Javon Jennings, those guys are, this front office and Kyle Shanahan and Wes Welker, who just left to go with Miami with McDaniels, but I mean, they've done a good job developing these guys. I'm pretty impressed with how they keep pushing out these receivers. And Kyle Shanahan, who used to be a receiver at Texas, I mean, he has that receiver mentality, so he expects a lot from these guys. And to be honest with you, it's working. I mean, these guys are developing and producing on the field. What can you ask for? Overall, right now, again, I don't give grades until after the 3rd year. I think that's only fair to them. I think as fans, we like to see instant success from picks, and that's not true. That shouldn't be asked for. Yeah, we should see developmental states and steps to improving and ascending. I mean, Kinlaw, end of the day, because what we traded, DeForest Buckner, and what we've received in Javon Kinlaw, it's disappointing. I mean, it's gonna be right now. Could I say he's a bust? Maybe. I mean, at this point, it's an injury thing, right? If he got to play all, this season and was able to improve and ascend, it's just hard because he has been hurt, and that's an issue, and that's an issue that the 49ers need to adjust from, right? If a player has that issue going, I mean, this is a known issue when he was drafted, that his knee was a problem, and they still took him. Their doctors okayed it. That's something that they need to work on and adjust, because we shouldn't be drafting a guy who has an issue like that. And if you look at it, when we do have draft busts, Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, that first draft, look who they replaced them with, right? Reuben Foster, they ended up going and spending a lot of money on Quan Alexander. Solomon Thomas, bust. They go out and they trade for D Ford, who, neither of these guys necessarily worked out long term. It worked out short term. Quan Alexander was good for about a season. I believe he tore his pec, and he's had other issues, and he was an injury concern going into coming from the Bucs. I mean, he tore his ACL when we signed him, and we gave him a big contract. And then D Ford, I mean, he had injury. He had injury history, all dating back to college with the Chiefs. I mean, his whole career until that 1 year that they made a Super Bowl run, and then he was over the line and encroachment, and then they ended up losing because of D4, and they trade him to us. I mean, we have an issue with betting on injured players, and that's, I mean, end of the day, it's what's killed us in the past. Hopefully they continue to adjust. It seems like they have. But it's important for the draft and free agency that you minimize your potential mistakes specifically with injury. It's something that it's historically seen, maybe don't give that guy a big ass contract. Maybe, it's a thing that the 49ers will have to learn from. But with that, I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I will be doing some draft stuff and continue to talk about 49ers. If there's anything that you guys would like to see, please let me know in the comments. If you'd like to come on the show, this little YouTube channel that I'm very small, but I'm hoping to grow it. I would love to get you guys on. This could be a collaborative thing where we can share opinions. But yeah, come on.